I'm ERIK ZAMBRANO and I'm with Bricolage.
I'm Greg Battle. I'm also with Bricolage.
We partner with professional service firms to help them on revenue and customer discovery. On the revenue side, a lot of these companies are used to word-of-mouth marketing, which translates into lumpy revenue. And on the customer side, a lot of their services have become commoditized over time, and there is no differentiation. So we're ultimately partnering with these companies to help on revenue and customer discovery, and we do have deep expertise and some repeat cycles working with tech innovation firms, such as mobile app agencies, design thinking firms, and business model innovation firms as well.
The idea of revenue and customer discovery is actually two phrases that come from Steve Blank's book, 4 Steps to the Epiphany, when he's talking about how a lot of startups have to do these two things at the same time. Well, for a lot of these smaller to mid-sized agencies, they are also startups. Even if they've been around for a long, long time, if they don't actually have a repeatable process of generating revenue, then you're still a startup. You're still trying to make that discovery. So if you're continually relying on referrals for your revenue, you're not actually building a true business. You're relying totally on word of mouth, which really may or may not scale. Most of the time it doesn't. You know, for the last 9 years, we've been on a bull run, which is great for the economy. But the thing is that when this bear cycle comes in and word of mouth dries up, a lot of these things, a lot of these businesses are actually going to fall to the wayside because they don't have the ability, the sustainability, and they haven't built the right architecture to generate this type of revenue, to generate these type of leads.
And when that happens, these customers that they're hoping to get are going to be a lot more, they're going to have a lot more scrutiny for these agencies. They're going to be evaluating them on what their differentiation actually is. So if they've got 3 agencies that they're considering on the table and there's really no differentiation among the 3, it's a hard decision for them to make, versus if one really shines and has a unique value proposition and that differentiation really speaks to the client's problems, that agency is going to be in a better position to win the business, but then also charge more premium rates and really start to develop expertise and history on solving that particular problem. So that's what we really mean by revenue and customer discovery.
The framework is a pyramid, okay? Pyramid like this. It's split up in 3 sections. That top section of the pyramid speaks to the vision, okay? And this is the vision of the client, the vision of the agency. What is the vision? The vision is those immutable principles that characterize you and differentiate your company from any other company. And that could be along a number of factors. Your people, prior work, speaking engagements, thought leadership, whatever it could be. Now that is usually stems from the founder of the agency. And then beneath that, the middle tier is going to be the goals. What are the ways that I can quantifiably express that vision? So if you say, I want to be the #1 IoT development firm that focuses on beacon technology as it relates to grocery stores, something along those lines. Okay, that's a very, very definitive thing, but I want to be the #1. What ways can I define goals, quantitative goals that express that vision? Okay, so there could be a number of things. And then the bottom tier, the widest tier of your pyramid is really the tactics. What are the ways, what are the experiments that we're going to go through together, collectively, to achieve those quantitative goals that express that vision? So that's where a lot of the things that ERIK and I come in and we help you define. But we have to start from the top. We can't start doing experimentation unless we have goals. We need to have a target that we're actually going to shoot against, and that target has to be defined by what we believe is the essence, the immutable essence of your company.
Let's take the case of a mobile app agency, right? We like working with those. They have this idea, they have this hypothesis in mind. It says, hey, we've developed some IP at the organization that we think is going to solve a lot of problems for a lot of big enterprise companies. So they come to us and they say, hey, we have this vision. in terms of what we're trying to do. What we can do in terms of experiments to find out if there's actually a home for that value proposition out there in the market is really, putting out there the right messaging, understanding the audience. So if you're going to say we're going to go after the aviation industry and the people that are building these planes, fine. We have to understand what are the pain points of that industry, what keeps them up at night, who are the people within those organizations that matter and are ultimately going to be making decisions about this hypothesis that the agency has. And then we go out there and do some cold email with the right messaging and an interesting offer and see what type of response we get from the industry. If we come back and hear that, hey, this is not something that I'm in charge of, great. We now know that the person that we targeted is not the right person within the organization, and then we can kind of recalibrate from there. Or if we don't get any sort of responses from this outreach, then maybe our idea for how to solve this problem that keeps this audience up at night isn't really that pressing. And then we have to go back to the drawing board and potentially find a new industry or a new set of companies that this matters more for. So these are the type of thinking that we like to instill in our clients, to really go out there, start putting your messaging in front of the right people and see what type of feedback you get from the market.
Another way of saying it is the same way, it's following on, is that we're trying to do product market fit. Your product, meaning that your work product, and the market in terms of your potential customers. So there has to be some experimentation before you can actually find that product market fit, your work product, your differentiated work product, and those potential customers who you're trying to attract. So like Erik said, outbound is one way of actually doing this. SEO, podcasting, blogging. I mean, the list is immense. Social media, but it really is and has to be tailored not only for your differentiated vision in terms of what in services and work product, but also for, like Erik said, the hopes, needs, dreams, and desires and problems of your potential customers.
This is where we go back to the importance of the vision, right? If the vision is that this is a new area of focus for the company, then even just getting in the room with one potential lead is a win. Obviously, we want to go wider, but sometimes in the earlier phases, especially as these professional service agencies are looking to work with big clients, it's really about getting the early cycles and having some sort of interaction with that target audience to then take those learnings and come back on. So those are some of the things that we like to keep in mind. Really, it's about the vision, and then if we're interested in a quantifiable goal, then yes, we can look at open rates, we can look at how many booked meetings we have in a month, how many qualified sales conversations we have. We can look at the velocity of how we went from targeting someone on cold email to how quickly we were able to put together a scope of work for that particular firm. So there's a lot of quantifiable things that we can look at, but ultimately we like to focus on the vision. And if the goal of the agency owner is to penetrate, for instance, a big market and it's the first time they're doing it, then at least getting some experience will be more of a qualitative goal that we're interested in measuring as well.
Yeah, there's going to be different metrics and OKRs for when you're in a discovery phase of things versus when you're in an optimization phase. Often there can be a mismatch between what you believe your service offerings are and what the client is actually expecting. Does your service portfolio, all of the services that your company offers, does it match up with that differentiation? Does it express that differentiation? Or is it just you have this idea that you're differentiated, but what people are actually buying into isn't differentiated? What can we say? If you go out there today in 2018 and say that, yeah, I'm a builder of mobile apps. Well, hello, there are about between the two app stores, 6-7 million mobile apps.
Somebody had to build them.
Somebody had to build them. The idea that technology is now novel in terms of a service is just not the case. A lot of technology services, design services, business development services are kind of commoditized on a global scale. So if you're presenting yourself as something generic, then you're competing on a global scale. And if you're competing on a global scale, then you're competing it's a race to the bottom in terms of your pricing, and differentiation. So what we want to make sure of is that your services portfolio truly represents in an authentic fashion your differentiation, and that you have pricing that matches that. So a lot of the things that we try to transition, we help companies transition away from is, let me go away from this area of massive kind of generic / competition area into something that's very specific and that you can hold true to your value proposition, and your pricing scheme. You know, there's a great anecdote that I love to talk about. Erik's laughing. It's about Picasso. Picasso's at a cafe in Paris many moons ago. Obviously, he's sitting there drinking by himself. A woman walks up to him and says, "Oh my gosh, you're Pablo Picasso." He says, whatever. And then she says, no, she insists. She says, no, you're definitely Pablo Picasso. And he says, okay, yes, I am. And then she says, well, can you draw me? Can you draw me? And he defers and says, no, I would not like to draw you. I just want to have my coffee. She says, no, she insists, I'll pay you. So he says, okay, I'll do it. And so he pulls out his sketch pad, pulls out a piece of charcoal. It takes 15, 20 seconds. It's definitely a Picasso. It has the stroke, it has his signature on it. Looks at her and says, yeah, that'll be 500 francs. And she says, oh my gosh, 500 francs, that took you 20 seconds. And he says, no, it didn't. It took me my entire life. The essence of that entire anecdote is that if in the organization, the same people who are negotiating the pricing and the business development aspect of things of your small agency are the same people who are actually doing the execution, more likely than not, you are going to argue against your own pricing. You're going to start trying to price things based upon the amount of time it actually takes versus the value that it delivers. And that whole Picasso anecdote is never undermine the value that you present in terms of all of your wisdom. The sum total of your entire organization's wisdom is incredibly important to how you sustain yourself through these different times. So how does that translate into something quantitative? That's where you start talking about average contract value over time. You want your average contract values to increase, okay? Such that I'm going after larger and larger clients, delivering more and more value over time, versus going with smaller and smaller clients and trying to go and kind of compete and sustain on volume. Sustaining on volume is just as bad as trying to sustain and compete on low prices.
We got our first client. I mean, we've always been doing consulting on the side. And we were often tapped by our future clients without the premise of the company in place yet. And they would say to us, hey, I know you did marketing at this former employer. We're thinking about starting our marketing function over. Can we talk? Can I pick your brain? Mm-hmm. And we had worked together before at a former employer. And one day we met up and we said, hey, are you kind of getting like these companies coming at you and trying to either hire you on a full-time basis or on a consultative basis? And we're like, yeah, I actually get those LinkedIn emails pretty frequently. So that was the genesis of bricolage. And the way we discovered our first clients was really morphing those people that were coming to us for consultation and saying, hey, now we have, it's not just myself, it's myself and Greg. It's a more complete package. Let's discuss what you're going through, both from the marketing and business development perspective, and also the kind of the services perspective, right? What services do you have? And ultimately, that was the package that we offered to a lot of these people initially that were coming to us on a more one-to-one basis.
Yeah. People would come to us with a pointed problem, each one of us individually. So I did a lot of business development prior life, and they'd come away with that problem. But then I'd see, wow, there's actually more of a marketing problem or a vision problem or a brand problem.
Yeah.
That vision aspect is wrong. I could try and go through some experimentation and solve, the problem with your leads and sales development, but the problem is really up top. And so kind of, the two of us team up in terms of superpowers. Yeah. It's actually worked out kind of well because now we can see it across the whole value chain. I love the closed business. I'm crazy about closed business. He knows this only too well. I'm jazzed about helping our clients close bigger business than they've ever thought of, because that is actually, again, like I said, increasing contract value, average contract value. You're going to go after bigger fish. You're going to put yourself in a different kind of tax bracket in terms of your in terms of what you're going after, and you're going to increase your sustainability. The great thing is that because we've actually seen people come in with a pointed problem for us, we show that there might be something that's holistically different. And then the great thing is that because we build up the right kind of referral relationships with these clients, now it's rather than having a referral business through my clients, it's referral network. So we have a number of different, very, very pre-qualified agencies and consultancies that we've worked with previously, and that we can funnel business across them. We can actually take on larger business. That's, although we have both the two of us, we can do much larger projects. We bid against much larger projects by leveraging the network of people that we've worked with previously. And we believe that that's actually the hidden value. They find that value out well after we start working with them. We're fixing one problem, and then they said, "Oh wow, you guys are solving a problem we didn't know we had."
The number one strategy that works well is that vision alignment up top. We don't like to work with clients that are going to try to boil the ocean and accomplish nothing by doing so. So it's really about setting that vision up front very early on, and then defining your differentiation. What are you going to be known in the market for? So what that allows is for the client to then say, all right, let's go find potential clients that have this need that we solve. Let's get the messaging right. Let's get the value proposition correct. Let's understand how these clients are potentially buying these services, how they think about the pricing of these services. And once we have that vision alignment up top, then it becomes a lot clearer for us to then go into the goals in terms of how we quantify our execution against that vision. But it really begins with the vision. So for instance, I'll give you a story. We have a client right now that had engineers that were some of the world's best engineers, and they were solving really complex problems on mobile. However, the market caught up to them. There were more developers entering the market that were accruing the same type of knowledge and expertise that this firm had, and it was becoming more competitive to differentiate on purely mobile expertise. However, that expertise led them to develop some IP. This IP was very specific to this company. It wasn't going to be developed anywhere else. It was just that intellectual property. So what we said to them was, all right, let's figure out the vision. What is the vision for this IP? And then we came up, with a whole mantra, a whole North Star about how mobile development could be done differently through this IP. And then by setting up that vision, it became crystal clear for us to then say, all right, what companies are spending too much time, too much money on mobile, and how can this IP help them? And then we were able to go through a very structured approach in which we looked at, I'd say about, 30 industries?
Yeah.
30 industries, and said, and measured them against a certain set of criteria that dovetailed perfectly off of that vision. And then what we had at the end of that was 2 key industries that we said, there's a lot of companies here, they're spending money on the types of services that we have for this client. Let's go out there and start putting the word out in the market. And that has translated to this company now going from an organization that was super dependent on word of mouth marketing, so its destiny was controlled by what friendlies they had in their network that would introduce them to new clients. They've transitioned from word of mouth to now being able to go hunt on their own. We kind of like to use hunting terminology back from our marketing and business development days. But the idea is now they're in charge of their destiny, but it would not have been accomplished if it wasn't for our approach that we have with clients in terms of being very strict, being very focused on one vision, and then everything else coming from that. So that's probably the best strategy that we've seen work for our clients, and that's why we're such big proponents and really focused on setting up the vision for these professional service agencies. You're going to have your LinkedIn social posting, you're going to have your outbound. The one thing I will say with outbound is that it has to be short, to the point, and it has to solve a problem for the person that's receiving that email. If you're just saying, hey, would love to chat, delete, you're banned from ever communicating with that person again. So that's my little quick tidbit on outbound. Events are great, right? How do you use your network of past clients to bring them back into the fold and say, hey, we're doing an event. We want to give you a platform. Will you come and speak at this event? then using the popularity and the professional history that those clients have to then attract new people into your fold, and you start building your network on the event side. We have multiple clients that run some pretty big conferences, and it's a huge revenue and business generating activity for them, not on the event ticket sales, but on the connections that they make at the event. And then there's always going to be your website, right? Your website has to be super to the point. If you're looking to work with big companies, you have to have an industries tab on your website, and it has to explain why your services matter to financial services, healthcare, insurance. So really specializing your services and at least having messaging on your website that speaks to that is super important. And then lastly, hiring the right business development people with the right networks. If you want to go into a certain space, into a certain industry, and you as an agency owner are looking to hire the right salespeople to come in, then you want to look at people that have experience in that industry. What have they done? How have they moved that needle in the industry to ultimately use their network to help your company's network? So those are some of the things that really move the needle in terms of proven strategies for us, for our clients.
Yeah, extending out further, the idea of business development people. Because obviously the reason why they're hiring us in terms of doing sales development and kind of managing growth for them is because they may not just have that capability in-house just yet. But we want to get people to maturity such that they can start building up that capability internally. Historically, there are two types of kind of business development folks. And I would say there's one, and a very good friend of mine characterized it, and I've adopted it, is that there is the racehorse style. So there's a racehorse style. What does that mean? This is a business development person who is very, very seasoned, has every single thing around them that's going to be supporting them, has entire staff of people kind of getting pre-qualified and qualified leads for them, has has sales development staff, has engineering support staff, in terms of sales engineers, has everything into such that their only job that they ever do is run around the track as fast as possible. Okay, and so though that's a certain type of salesperson. So when you talk about any of the the larger SaaS companies and stuff like that, they have these type of people. And then on the other side are people who I would say are more kind of are bushwhackers. This is a person who I hand them a machete, I throw them in the jungle, and find something to eat. Okay. This is a person who's like, I have no idea what I'm actually trying to just do or find or whatever.
But I'm going to do it.
But I'm going to find something out there. And the thing is that a lot of what Erik and I are trying to do is translate your business from let us formalize how this actual bushwhacking actually should work, especially if you're trying to extend or trying to find a new business line, attacking a new industry or whatever. Okay, you need people who understand how to do that, such that you can then hire the thoroughbred, the person who's going to run around that track. But until those things are actually set up for you, A, you're not going to attract that right person, and B, you're not going to be sustainable before that.
Or you run the risk of hiring a thoroughbred but throwing him into a forest and not knowing what to do.
Yeah. It's not going to work.
My email is EZ, the letters E and Z, at bricolage.work, and bricolage is spelled BRICOLAGE. And then Greg's email is gbattle@bricolage.work. You can also visit our website, bricolage.work, and we'll be happy to have any discussion about marketing, business development, revenue, and customer discovery if you're a professional services agency owner.